The love question. One day, it occurred to a certain king's daughter that if she only knew the answer to the question, which part of the human body knows more about love, she would never stray in any relationship. The king issued a decree throughout his kingdom, announcing that whoever could answer her daughter's question would receive a great reward. Many who read the decree made their way to the palace at once, each person with a different answer. In a reply to the question, a person noted for repeating cliches said it was the heart. It is the heart that rejoices in love and aches when love is broken. But the princess pondered, if the heart knew more about love, how come more people claiming to be following their hearts end up miserably broken? One person said it was the eye. The eye beholds beauty and therefore best to know love. You can tell love just by beholding the brightness and eye color of a person. Another person replied that it was the mouth and ear. The mouth utters and feels a kiss, and the ear listens to sweet and lovely words that define love. Someone else insisted that it was the reproductive organs. Love is energy, which is channeled through reproductive organs, and the intensity of the energy is the feel one needed to know about true love. The princess was not pleased with any of the answers, and no reward was given. After several nights of reflection, the princess resolved to visit an old woman who lived on the bank of a river and was said to be enlightened. The princess wished to ask her the love question. However, the old woman never left the bank of the river. She was also known to receive only the poor, as she refused to have anything to do with wealthy and famous people. Therefore, the princess disguised herself as a simple lady and ordered her attendants not to follow her. She instructed them to wait for her some distance away from the river while she walked alone to find the old woman. Reaching the holy woman's dwelling place, the princess found her caring for a patient in front of her hut. When the old woman saw the stranger, she nodded her head in greeting and continued caring for the patient. The princess approached her and said, "I have come here to ask your help with the question, which part of the human body knows more about love?" The old woman listened attentively but only patted the princess on the shoulder and continued her care. The old woman had 4 calabashes. Inside each was crystal clear water, and also she had 4 grinding stones. Beside each lay 4 different sets of leaves. The princess said, "You must be tired. Here, let me give you a hand with that." The old woman thanked her and handed the princess the grinding stone, and then sat down on the ground to rest. After she ground the first set of leaves and poured into the first calabash, the princess stopped and turned to the old woman and repeated her question. The old woman did not answer, but instead stood up and pointed to the first calabash, and whilst pouring some content for her patient, she asked, "Why don't you rest now? I can take over again. What is the taste after mixing?" "It is bitter," the princess said, after licking some portions of it in her palm. The princess continued to grind the second set of leaves. An hour passed, then 2. The princess stopped and turned to the old woman and repeated her question. The old woman still did not answer, but instead stood up and pointed to the second calabash, and whilst pouring some content for her patient said, "Why don't you rest now? I can take over again. What is the taste after mixing?" "It is sour," the princess grimaced and said. She continued to grind the third set of leaves. She asked her question again, but the old woman still did not answer, but instead stood up and pointed to the third calabash, and whilst pouring some content for her patient said, "Why don't you rest now? I can take over again. What is the taste after mixing? It is salty. The princess frowned and said, after licking some portions of it. She continued to grind the last set of leaves. The princess stopped and turned to the old woman and repeated her question one more time. The old woman did not answer, but instead stood up and pointed to the fourth calabash, and whilst pouring some content for her patient said, "What is the taste of the last mixing?" "It is sweet," the princess smiled and said, after dipping one finger in the liquid and tasting. "I came here to ask if you could answer my question, but if you can't give me any answer, please let me know so I get on my way home," said the king's daughter. She then sat beside the patient, whom she recognized for the first time as a nobleman. "But your questions have already been answered." "How is that?" the princess asked, puzzled. At this question, the feeble man, who had gained some strength, pitied the princess. He had listened, so he had an answer to give. "My dear," he began with a slow voice, "love is a journey. It is bitter, it is sour, it is salty, and it is sweet. All is meant to be enjoyed. And so, if your question is what part of the human body best experiences everything about love, it is the parts on the tongue. Only they can detect bitterness, sourness, saltiness, and sweetness. Remember, as the parts on the tongues adjust to different tastes, so is someone in true love." The princess smiled. No answer could best fit the question than what has been given. She bestowed on the man the promised gift, and the man in turn proposed love, receptive, unconditional love, similar to those shown by bats on the tongue to varying taste. And both lived for bitterness, for sweetness, in sourness, and in saltiness, till death did them apart. Remember, you can find this story and many other great ones in the author Lovis Kwasi Armah's book, The Wisest Man from the East. For more nuggets of wisdom, book a copy now at Armah Lovis on Facebook. Also on WhatsApp at +233 244 304859. To get more information on the author and more inspiration, please follow at Armah Lovis on Facebook and on Twitter.